we conclude chapter 3. Now, the Rebbe gave us a metaphor. We need metaphors. Metaphors are crucial to have an understanding of abstract spiritual ideas. And what's the idea over here? Very abstract and very spiritual. Is the fact that God is creating the world, something from nothing, every moment. He's constantly engaged in creation. And not only if the Word of God were to be taken away from anything of creation, this pen, it would cease to exist. It wouldn't go to energy. It would not even divine energy. It would be nothingness as before 6 days of creation. And not only that, but as it's being animated, this pen, me, the entire universe, galaxies, it is the only reality is the force that is in it, that's giving it existence. That's the force of God. That's the power of God. That's the Word of God. So our reality is only but that of God. So he gave a metaphor. You know, when you have sunlight, so the light that comes and emerges, the ray that gives us light, gives us warmth and life, outside of the globe of the sun, so we see it as a separate entity, but in its source, that ray of light is completely nullified within its source. You wouldn't even call it a ray of light. It's just sun, right? It's just the sun. So likewise, the exact parallel over here. Created beings and the divine flow of the created beings is flowing and brings them into existence. And the truth is that the created beings are not outside of their existence. They're in their source, like the ray of sun within the sun. Right? We merely perceive ourselves as being outside of, the sun. Well, and that's where there's a breakdown of the metaphor, because the sun is only in one place. It's not everywhere. The sun itself, it's just in one place. So emerging from there is the rays that are separate from the sun and do their thing. But God is not in one place. If God is in heaven, like the sun is in 93 million miles away, beyond. So if God is beyond, so yeah, okay. So then there can be something that from him will emerge that's separate from him. God forbid, you can't say that. The sun is only in one place, and its light emerges from it in many places, right? In our universe, everywhere. But God is everywhere, unlike the sun. So just like the ray of sun is within its source, and is therefore there completely nullified, doesn't even have an identity of a ray of light. It is merely sun globe, part of it. But God exists everywhere. And therefore we are, as he creates us something from nothing, like the ray of sun within the sun, we are in our source at all times. We're not separate from our source. The ray of light can be separate from its source. But we can't be separate from our source. So there's a breakdown in the metaphor over here. Well, if that's the case, then we have a question. Why is it, or how could it be, that I don't recognize my source? If I were a ray of light in the sun, I would sort of probably recognize my non-existence within the Son and be part of the Son, right? If I'm in my source at all times, well, how come I don't recognize that? How come I don't sense that I am nullified within my source? How do we get that? Right? Now we understand we don't perceive it. We don't live with that. It's not visible to the physical naked eye that we are part in our source of the divine. But how do we understand that? That concludes chapter 3. It concludes